At my father's funeral, I couldn't stop crying. My wife held my hand, told me she was proud of how strong I was. That night, I saw her leave the room and take a call in the hallway. I followed her. Heard her whisper, "He's finally out of the picture. We're free." The voice on the other end? My business partner. I didn't confront her. I waited. 1 month later, I invited them both to a memorial brunch and played her voicemail over the speakers. No one touched their food. I grew up just outside Cincinnati, Ohio. My dad was the kind of guy who fixed your car without asking for anything, who coached Little League even when none of us were any good, who never raised his voice unless you deserved it. He wasn't rich. He didn't go to college. But he was respected. He passed on February 3rd, heart failure. Sudden. No warning. I was 38. I thought I had time. Time to take him fishing again. Time to introduce him to my future kids. Time to tell him he was right about Jenna. But I was too late. The funeral was on a Thursday. Cold as hell. Windy and wet. I wore a suit that didn't quite fit anymore. My hands kept shaking. I barely made it through the eulogy. Jenna, my wife of 6 years, stood beside me. She held my hand so tightly I thought it meant something. When I cried, she brushed the tears off my face and whispered, "You're doing great. He'd be proud of you." I believed her. That night, we stayed at my mom's place. My old room had been turned into a sewing space, so Jenna and I stayed in the guest room. The bed creaked every time we moved. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the last conversation I had with my dad. He told me to watch who you build with. I thought he meant Brandon. I should have asked more questions. Around 2 a.m., Jenna got out of bed. I thought she needed water, but she didn't come back. After a few minutes, I went looking. I heard her voice before I saw her. She was near the front door, talking on the phone in a low whisper. I stopped behind the corner. Didn't make a sound. She said, "He's finally out of the picture. We're free." There was a pause. Then a voice I knew all too well answered. "Brandon. My business partner. My friend. My brother." He laughed and said, "God, I thought we'd never get here." I didn't move. I just stared at the wall, listening, frozen. They didn't say much after that. She told him she loved him. He said something about taking a trip soon. Then the call ended. I slipped back into the room before she returned. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, every piece of my life cracking apart inside my chest. The next morning, I acted like nothing happened. I told her I was going to run errands for my mom. She smiled and said she was proud of me for holding it together. That was the last time I looked at her the same. Over the next few weeks, I watched everything. I kept my mouth shut. But I watched. Brandon started showing up late to meetings. He claimed his mom was sick, then that his car broke down, then that he was burned out. I pulled up our financials. There were charges I never saw before. Plane tickets, hotel stays, fancy dinners nowhere near Cincinnati. One of them was to a spot in Columbus Jenna had always talked about visiting. Meanwhile, Jenna was on her phone more than usual. She'd go to the patio to call her sister, but I never heard her mention her name. I didn't accuse her. I didn't accuse him. I made copies, bank statements, call logs, security footage. I took it all. I even backed up our business systems under a separate admin account Brandon didn't know existed. I set up a private post office box, opened a new personal bank account, hired a lawyer, quietly. Then I planned a memorial brunch for my dad. I told Jenna I wanted to celebrate his life, bring friends and family together one last time. She thought it was sweet. She offered to handle the invites. I told her I'd make a tribute video. Something to honor him, I said. She smiled. I smiled back. The brunch was held in a private event space attached to a restaurant in Hyde Park. Quiet, warm, and upscale. Around 30 people came. Old family friends. My mom. A few of Dad's co-workers from the plant. Jenna wore a soft blue dress. Brandon showed up wearing a tie. He never wore ties. We ate small plates. Talked softly. I gave a short speech about Dad. Showed the tribute video photos of him as a young man, music he liked, shots of him fishing, laughing, holding me as a kid. People clapped when it ended. Then I said, I found something else I think Dad would have wanted me to share. Something that reminded me how he always said, "Truth finds the surface, son." Always does. I pressed play on the second video. The room went silent. Jenna's voice came through the speakers. Clear, sharp. He's finally out of the picture. We're free. Then Brandon's voice, laughing. God, I thought we'd never get here. Someone dropped a fork. My mom gasped. I didn't say a word. Jenna's face turned ghost white. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me. Brandon's eyes darted around like he wanted to run. I stood, adjusted my jacket. I'm sorry for ruining your brunch, I said to the room. But this felt like the only time to tell the truth. Then I walked out. I didn't look back. When I walked out of that brunch, I didn't feel relief. Not yet. I drove to the warehouse. Brandon didn't know I had changed the access codes. He didn't know I had full control of the business accounts. He didn't know that our lead accountant, Maya, had come to me 2 weeks earlier saying she saw odd withdrawals under Brandon's name and felt weird about it. I told her to keep quiet for now. But I gave her full instructions. She followed every one. The Monday after the brunch, Brandon tried to get into the office. He couldn't. He called me 8 times. Left 3 voicemails. All variations of, "What the hell, man?" and "We need to talk." I didn't answer. Then he sent me a long email, full of fake concern, like we had some kind of misunderstanding. He actually wrote, "I don't know what Jenna told you, but she's been dealing with grief in her own way." Like I didn't hear it with my own ears. Like grief makes you plot behind your husband's back. I forwarded the email to my lawyer. 3 days later, we served Brandon with an official notice. He was being removed from the business, pending investigation for misappropriation of funds, breach of fiduciary duty, and potential fraud. He was done. Jenna didn't take it quietly either. That night, she came home screaming. Said I had humiliated her. Said I had no proof they did anything wrong. I didn't say much back. I just played her the full recording again on my phone. Her face crumbled. Then I handed her a printed copy of the divorce papers. I already filed, I said. You're being served officially in the morning. I just thought I'd do you the courtesy tonight. She tore it in half. I expected that. What I didn't expect was for her to beg. But she did. She fell to her knees and begged, cried, said it was a mistake, that it was only emotional, that she was lost after Dad died. I told her she didn't get to use him as an excuse. Not after what she said the night he was buried. I left her there crying in the living room. That weekend, I met with a private investigator. I wanted to make sure I had everything. Every hotel, every fake invoice, every quiet little pocket they used to move money or time around me. Turns out, they'd been meeting up in Columbus since last summer. Brandon had booked 2 weekend freight management conferences that didn't exist. The hotel they stayed at? The same one Jenna and I stayed in for our anniversary 2 years ago. That part hit me harder than I expected. They'd used everything I built. Every good moment. Every memory. They used it as cover to cheat and lie and laugh behind my back. And they thought I'd never find out. My lawyer filed to push Brandon into arbitration. He'd signed a clause years ago that, in cases of serious misconduct, gave me the right to buy out his shares at a reduced valuation. He'd never read the fine print. But I had. Meanwhile, Jenna's lawyer tried to fight the prenup. They claimed emotional abuse, saying I'd neglected her after my father died, that I was cold. But I had emails, texts, witnesses. I had the audio. And best of all, I had time. Every delay, every court date, every filing, I didn't rush. I let them twist. Let them sit with what they did. Then something else happened. Something I didn't expect. Maya, our accountant, came to me again. She said she found something else. Something bigger. A hidden account, set up by Brandon, possibly with Jenna's help. A shell corporation. Small withdrawals, but consistent. Money was being moved monthly into it from our business for over a year. I asked her how much. She said, over 60,000. Maybe more. I felt sick. I told her to dig into everything. I knew what I had to do next. Maya worked late hours pulling records. We met in secret, her, me, and my lawyer, in the back office of the old West Side warehouse. I trusted her. She'd been with us since we had 6 trucks and a leased trailer yard. After a week of digging, she brought me a flash drive. She didn't even sit down. Just handed it over and said, "You're going to want to see this yourself." The shell company was called 3 Pines Distribution, a name I didn't recognize. It was registered in Kentucky, just across the river, under Brandon's cousin's name. That cousin? A guy I'd met once at a backyard barbecue, who had no idea what Brandon actually did. Money had been leaving our business under consulting and outsourcing invoices. Some were small, $1, $200 here, $2,600 there. Others were much bigger, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. It added up fast. The total wasn't $60,000. It was $187,400. Over 2 years. And then Maya pointed to a timestamp on one of the payouts. 3 days after I had to pull money from my personal savings to cover payroll during a bad month. That was the month my dad told me something felt off about Brandon. That he looked me in the eye and said, "That guy doesn't move like a partner. He moves like a thief." I didn't listen. Not then. No? I couldn't hear anything else. I handed it all to my lawyer. We filed to escalate the charges. Now it wasn't just internal fraud. It was criminal. And right in the middle of it, Jenna did something I didn't see coming. She sued me for defamation. Said the audio I played at the brunch was edited and misleading. Said I had destroyed her social standing, her job prospects, her mental well-being. The story hit local news when someone from the brunch leaked a copy of the voicemail. Small headline on the city news site. Business owner plays damning audio at father's memorial. Accusations fly. I didn't leak it, but I wasn't mad. Jenna's case never made it past the first hearing, but I had to sit in a courtroom while she pretended to be the victim. She cried. Were soft colors. Talked about how hard the funeral had been. She said she only spoke to Brandon that night, as a friend, and the words she used were taken out of context. The judge didn't buy it. Neither did anyone in the room. But watching her lie like that, it burned something out of me. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was war. That same week, I found out Brandon had quietly hired a private mediator. He was trying to negotiate a backdoor deal to keep 40% of his shares and avoid arbitration. He even offered to make a public apology if I let it go. I sent one message back through my lawyer, "You'll get nothing, and everyone will know exactly what you did." Then, I got a surprise message. From someone I hadn't seen in almost 10 years. Her name was Haley. She used to work with me and Brandon when we were just two guys renting office space in a strip mall. She said she had seen the news story. She said she had something I needed to hear. We met for coffee the next morning. She looked nervous. And then she told me everything. 10 years ago, Brandon had tried something similar. With another friend. Another small startup. That time it was real estate. He took money from their investment pool, funneled it through a friend's company, then ghosted after it fell apart. She didn't say anything back then because she didn't have proof. But she remembered how Brandon bragged about knowing how to move paper without leaving fingerprints. I asked her, "Why are you telling me now?" She said, "Because you listened to your gut. And because the guy I used to work with, you didn't deserve this." She gave me an old hard drive from that time. It had Brandon's emails, some early financial records. I passed it to my lawyer. Now I had a pattern, a history. We filed with the state attorney general's office. Criminal fraud investigation. Potential prison time. At minimum. Full forfeiture of Brandon's shares. And Jenna? She started getting desperate. She showed up at my door 2 weeks later. No makeup. Sweater hanging off her shoulder. She tried to talk her way in. I opened the door just enough to say, "You picked the wrong man to bet against." Then I closed it. And locked it. It took another 4 months, but it all finally came crashing down. Brandon was arrested in early October. They picked him up at a bar downtown after a warrant was issued for wire fraud, tax evasion, and conspiracy. I didn't need to see it, but someone sent me a video from across the street, him in cuffs, shouting at the officers, yelling about a misunderstanding and a setup. There was no setup. He took the money. Lied to investors. Used a fake shell company to cover it all up. Then he thought sleeping with my wife would keep him protected. Like I'd never look closely. Like I was too emotional to catch on. He pled guilty. Tried to negotiate a deal. But between my documentation, Maya's accounting, and Haley's evidence from the past, there was nothing left to argue. He got 5 years. Not enough, if I'm being honest. But enough to make sure he doesn't touch another company for a long time. As for Jenna, she dragged the divorce out for 6 more months. Tried everything. Claimed emotional damage. Claimed financial dependence. Claimed abuse, none of which stuck. The prenup held. The judge saw right through her stories. I offered her one settlement, $0. She walked away with nothing. No house. No stake in the business. No car. I even got the dog. She moved back in with her sister in Dayton. Word got around in her old friend circles. People distanced themselves. Funny thing is, she could have had everything. If she'd been loyal. If she just stayed decent. Instead, she chose Brandon. I found out later she was pregnant when I played that voicemail at the brunch. She lost the baby not long after. I won't pretend I didn't feel something when I heard that. I'm not proud of it, but I also won't lie. The part that still haunts me? My dad warned me. More than once. He saw things I didn't. Things I refused to see. And I let the blind spot cost me. So I made a rule for myself. Trust, but verify. And when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. I kept the business, rebranded it, gave Maya a raise and part ownership. She earned it. She was the only one besides my dad who never betrayed me. I took a break from dating, focused on rebuilding, not just the company, but myself, my gut, my pride. Every once in a while, I'll hear about Jenna trying to land a new job, or someone will mention Brandon getting moved to a low-security facility. But I don't keep tabs on them anymore, because I already did what needed to be done. I told the truth. I exposed the lies. And I didn't just survive it. I made damn sure they'd never forget what it cost to cross me.